This afternoon, the Christian Council of Ghana is also calling for the suspension of the domestic debt exchange program by government to pave way for a broad consultation that will convince people to sign onto the program. There have been several agitations from organized labor to individual bondholders cautioning government to stay off their funds. According to the Christian Council, in the wake of the agitations amongst the public, it will be in the nation's interest for the finance ministry to first of all suspend the program and draw a roadmap for the participatory process to take place. We have a statement from that council. We have details of that on your screens right now, indicating that the leadership of the Christian Council of Ghana has followed with deep interest the ongoing debates about the restructuring in the country. After various discussions with some stakeholders on Ghana's economy, we're convinced that the whole process needs to be suspended until a broader consultation have been made. And it continues to indicate that as an advocacy group that speaks for the vulnerable in society, the Council has examined the concerns of the Individual Bondholders Association of Ghana, the Pensioner Bondholders Forum, our church members, and the general public, and have identified lapses in the debt restructuring program, a major one being the lack of consultation with affected individuals and institutions. So beyond that, with the current economic hardships in the country and the agitation among the general public, it is in the national interest for the finance ministry to suspend the 31st January deadline giving to individuals to sign onto the program and rather propose a roadmap for a dialogue to make the process participatory such that the outcome would be accepted to all. At this moment, I want to bring in General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Dr. Cyril Fayose, joining us live via Zoom. Reverend, it's good to be talking to you at this time. Of course, your offices receiving lots of petitions and appeals from these individual bondholders. But given the statement you're putting out, are you giving some further action to it, at least trying to engage government on behalf of these individual bondholders? Reverend, we're having a challenge hearing you. If you could just unmute for us so we can get the point you're making. Reverend Fayose, if you're with us, I'm asking that you unmute so we can hear the points that you're making, sir. Definitely, we'll reconnect with Reverend Cyril Fayose, but the individual... Yes, Reverend, unfortunately, we couldn't hear you earlier on. I was just asking that you unmute. Now we can hear you. If you can hear me as well, I was just asking if you're going to give any further action to the statement. Yes, I can. I'm asking if you're going to, add any further actions to the statement you're putting out. For instance, say, engage the finance ministry on behalf of this individual bondholders. Do you intend to do anything like that? Reverend Fayose, if you can hear me, I'm asking if you would be, of course, taking any further steps after the statement that you've taken, that you've issued. We'll reconnect with Reverend Cyril Fayose shortly. The individual bondholders this afternoon are also tabling other options government could explore in place of touching their bonds in the debt exchange program. The Finance Ministry and representatives of individual bondholders on Wednesday reached a consensus to have a joint technical committee meeting to explore the options available for government to have a successful IMF program. But it appears that government has no plans of ditching the program. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has insisted there's no alternative to the program. Okay, let's try one more time and see if we can connect to Reverend Cyril Fayose. Reverend, if you can hear me, welcome to the Pulse. I was asking if you're going to take any further actions just to back your statement that you have put out there. It appears we are getting some challenge there in terms of hearing from Reverend Cyril Fayose, who is on Zoom with us. But Reverend, well, for those of you who are now joining us, it's just a statement coming through from the Christian Council, of course, also adding their voice to what's happening now. We'll definitely reconnect with Reverend Cyril Fayose shortly and get some more updates on that. You're watching The Pulse. We'll be back shortly. Now, let's listen to the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta.
Technical committees, and they will be meeting immediately tomorrow because we don't really want to miss the deadline that we have set. We are confident that we'll get there, but I think in all of us settle down to think about it, it will be good for us. But I think the clarity for all of us that it is a voluntary program. You know, we have anticipated maybe getting up to 80%, which will still put us within the parameter. So we are asking everybody to really join. There may be things we may do to mitigate the impact, and that's what I believe the technical committee will look at. But really, it continues to be a government that cares for people, lives and livelihoods, as we saw in COVID. We protected. Going forward too, we have to protect people, but also ensure that the community of the Republic, crosses the Jordan safely. And that is a challenge we have. I think January 31st is certainly what you may call a drop-dead date. I think we would have given everybody enough time to participate or give us their comments or interests, and we'll do it. But I'm confident that we'll get there. I think we are making good progress with the financial institutions and of other individuals that are concerned. So thanks. This has been a very good meeting.
Well, convener of the individual bondholders, Senyor Hossein, insists that they have made compromises already and they will need government to review their stance.
One thing that the rest of Ghanaians are also aspiring to be here. You're also crushing the hope of they also being here. So practically, this has to do with every single Ghanaian. Your chance to win, your chance to thrive, your chance for your aspirations to be realized. We will work together to solve this.
As the technical committee sits, will there be a review of your stance?
Review of our stance. Well, we have asked, look, those who don't really know me, maybe I'll let you know, and you can probably speak to my former constituents. My policy positions are always thought through on a balanced scale. You always have to think about other people and look at what's functional. Like I told the minister, I own businesses that are negatively affected by it. I am an unemployed graduate. And as an unemployed graduate, if my businesses are negatively affected by it, it is a big deal. But considering the challenges he has at hand, I've accepted and authorized my businesses to subject themselves to this DDE. My problem is that you can't extend that to individuals because the implications are catastrophic. If you put it at a bank, you have come up with some forbearances, financial stability fund. You are giving them options. There is no option for your hunger. There is no option for your inability to pay for your dialysis. The option is go a begging. There's no option for all the work you have done to throw your dignity away when it's no fault of yours. What crime have they committed? None.
Fortunately, Reverend Cyril Fayose, who's the Christian Council of Ghana, the General Secretary, is joining us via Zoom. Fortunately, we have a proper and stable connection to him now. Reverend, good afternoon. Welcome to The Pulse. Earlier, I was just asking that, given the statement that you've put out, will there be any action in the coming days in terms of either engaging government further on the concerns of the individual bondholders?
Yes, good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your cherished listeners and viewers. Yes, that is our intention. Our intention is that from here forward, we are going to engage the Ministry of Finance and the government as a whole to speak on behalf of the hurting and voiceless vulnerable persons in society.
And what's instructive is that in the statement, we notice that you're not just doing this in the interest of individual bondholders. You say that even some of your church members, quote unquote, are affected as a result of the exercise. I'm wondering if that's affecting collections on a lighter note.
Definitely. members cannot get their coupons, cannot make ends meet, it will affect the tithing and also the offering. So it's important that we fight for them so that we also get our share of the the tithe.
Definitely, but in all of this, you are asking for a total review of the debt exchange program. I'm wondering if you have any alternatives in mind as the Christian Council. Are there some areas that you'd want government to explore, to look at? Dr. Fayose, I'm asking if there are any alternatives that you'd want government to explore as part of the alternatives. Looking at the perspective you have as the Christian Council, are there some alternatives that you're proposing to government that can really address the situation that we have on our hands?
Hello?
Yes, I'm asking if there are any alternatives. Hello? Yes, I'm asking about alternatives, Reverend. Reverend, I'm asking about alternatives. Well, my colleague Richard Kojunyako has been monitoring proposals being made by the individual bondholders, just as you heard it from the Christian Council as well. They're also raising some concerns about this. And the individual bondholders yesterday, Richard, held a meeting. You were there at the Ministry of Finance. And the next step, of course, will be the technical committee stage. But even before that, they have an analysis on how government can find an alternative. What are some of the options that are being explored now?
So yesterday they made it a point that government should not touch their individual bonds, and they feel that without touching theirs, without touching the funds of the pensioners, government could still go ahead and implement the program. And so they have some proposals. They say that there have been some increases in the civil states institutions, and so from the increasing SOEs from 87 to 177, they feel that there should be a cut. So if government scraps up some of the state institutions, right, because the funding will also be cut and we could save some kind of revenue.
So they want some sort of rationalization as they are asking for. But Reverend Fayose is with us. Reverend, alternatives is what we are asking about. Do you have alternatives as the Christian Council?
Hello?
Yes, Reverend Fayose, I'm asking if you have alternatives as the Christian Council.
Not exactly. We are still engaging with the technical people, the experts, to advise us. But one of the things we are really asking for is some broader consultation with all stakeholders. The other thing with the whole DDEP thing is the fact that it affects only a segment of the population. We understand the whole concept of burden sharing, but the burden sharing should be done across board. These are my own.
Not a good day for us. Obviously, we just plead for the Holy Ghost to intervene there. Reverend Fayose joining us. But of course, obviously the lines will not allow the clergyman to join us and to make his point. But of course, Richard, the point you're making about the alternative, yes, trying to cut down on the number of institutions that we have.
And the second point they make is that there is an increase in public sector workforce from 600,000 to 900,000, and they say that it's mainly job for the boys. And so if some of these things are cut, government will be able to save more revenue. The third point they make is that they have appointed multiple and unnecessary deputy CEOs within the state enterprises. And so if these appointments are cut, government will be able to save more revenue and funding the lifestyle of Ghana's largest number of ministers. And so you see that people have been complaining. It's not only the individual bondholders, but the larger section of the Ghanaian populace have been complaining about the increase in the number of ministers we have. We had occasion where we had 2 deputies in some of the ministries, and so they want that one to also be dealt with. They say that with more debt, more debt will also come some increases in financing them and all of that. And then secondly, the last point they make is the flagship programs of government. They want government to look through the flagship programs that they do have. If they feel that some of them are unnecessary, they should swallow their pride and then scrap some of them off. And so these are some of the things that they are hoping to put before the Joint Technical Committee.
How many ministers are they looking at in all?
Well, they have not made specific mention of numbers of ministers they want government to operate with, but they feel that the current number government is operating with is on a high side. And so if government will be able to cut that number, it will save some money, because they say that if there are more appointments, if there are more ministerial appointments, they will buy them cars, they will fuel them, they will have office space and the others, they have to pay their PAs and the others. And so if they reduce it to the barest minimum that government could function, they feel that it will be better. And they make the point that without the individual bondholders, their money, without the pensioners, their money, there could still be some other funds government should fall on in order for them to meet the 80% threshold that they are hoping to get.
Richard Kojo-Nyarko, who's been monitoring the events for us at the Finance Ministry. Let's reconnect with Reverend Cyril Fayose. This time around on phone. Reverend, you were just talking about the alternatives, the fact that you're still looking forward to broader engagements and consultations. So where would you want us to start from as a nation?
Yeah, well, there have been a number of suggestions out there. We have not endorsed as a council any one of them, but I think they are worth looking at. One is to cut expenditure generally. It looks like there are some expenditure points that can be cut. So if we can cut those expenditures, we believe we can solve our problem without going into this domestic debt exchange program.
The Minister for Finance indicates to us that basically there's no alternative and that government is in a hard place.
Well, that is coming from a Minister of Finance, but I think there are a lot of other experts who are speaking out there. As I said, the council hasn't got a position on what alternative to put out there now, because we are still engaging the experts. If we find a viable one, we are going to put it out there.
But in all of this, are you mindful? Yeah.
Some people have also suggested that we should ask for debt cancellation. I don't know why that is not on the table. Right. We know we have gone through that before when we did HIPIC, and there is no harm in going through that again if it will save the vulnerable and the weak in society from losing their meager income.
I was just asking if in all of this you are mindful of our program with the IMF and the fact that if we touch this debt exchange program, as we're being told now, we may not successfully execute the project, the austerity plan.
Well, I think I'm not an expert in this area, so I really can't respond to the question adequately. But I think I've read somewhere that even the IMF is talking to some of our partners, partners to forgive our debt. And if something like that is on the table, that we can go that route as well, I think.
Well, we're grateful. Dr. Reverend Cyril Fayose is General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana. Well, 77.